COVID teams, which is just to lay off for 2 or 3 games to see what's going to happen. This Ohio State-Indiana game, John, you're projecting a Ohio State return to conditioning, a return to form. There's certainly a really good offensive team, far superior to Indiana in that regard. And if that happens, then maybe I'll be ready to play Ohio State games again. But there's so many of these situations across the country. And contrary to what I think, I'm not going to say most, because I don't know how many guys at Sports Memo or Wager Talk are actively playing college basketball every single day. But I really didn't get started. Personal decision, just didn't like all the red marks across the odds screen every day with game cancellation until the other night, and had a pretty decent night. Last night I laid off. Tonight I've got one play. This Ohio State-Indiana game is much more of a watch than play for me. We'll see what happens. Indiana has gone up a little bit price-wise from 2 to 3.5. But again, like I said to start all this, I think a majority of bettors are just playing against teams that are coming off of long COVID layoffs. For 2 seconds, I'll just say this real quick, Chuck, and get out of your way. We talked a little bit about UCLA and Long Beach. UCLA off a long COVID layoff. And that's one, again, why I don't blanket statement everything, but it's kind of contradictory to what I just said, because I do have a play on the total in that game, UCLA and Long Beach State. And that does involve a long COVID layoff. So Ohio State, I'm rooting for you, John. Take the 3.5.
Yeah, I appreciate that very, very much. And welcome to the show, Mr. Finn. I'm glad you could attend. I'm trying to. What casino sportsbook are you in right now with a background like that?
I'm not. I'm hanging out in the men's the Golden State or one of the locker rooms around here.
Ah, nice. I thought maybe they,
Actually says Suns.
Dr. Chuck, what do you think of my take on Ohio State? I think Ohio State's going to win by double digits, guys. I really do, and I want you to tell me why I'm full of crap. Okay. But I really think they're going to take it to Indiana, and that's the end of my analysis.
I'll take Indiana in 10. How about you, Chuck?
10.
Well, you said double digits.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, I said I expect them to win by that much.
I didn't hear that. I must be, I'm getting old. I heard you say they're going to win by double digits. Johnny
and Ranieri are over there on the NBA show doing this shit right now. Hey, you're giving me 10? I'll take the 10. Yeah, this is
so. No, listen. I like Ohio State too. I do. I like they're better offensively. They're just that much better.
So so here's mine.
I agree 100,000%.
I'm with Rob. It's a watch. It's my Buckeyes. I'm watching them. I think that
he's chicken.
I think that COVID layoff stuff. I think they shook it off in overtime. Branham went batshit crazy. Scored 35. That freshman the other night against Nebraska, but they didn't look good. They looked exactly like what Rob is talking about early in that game.
Don't sleep on Hoiberg though. Be careful because listen, as bad as Nebraska is, it's still rebuild. They took Ohio State. They played Ohio State just about like you want to play them. I'm telling you, they were in that Michigan State game. They were in that game for 35 minutes.
Yeah. To that point, the only reason that I wasn't as excited as John when this opened is it made no sense. I mean, Rob and I brought this up a few weeks ago. The key to beating college basketball before the year turns over is beating Ken Pop or beating the books versus Ken Pop, and it doesn't make much sense. Why are you getting?
Listen, I agree. Yeah, I don't know what the hell what's Hoiberg doing running the tempo he's running with that group too. They can't shoot threes. If you can't shoot a three, you can't run that tempo that they're running at. So
who's the Hoosiers or Ohio State?
Hoosiers.
Yeah. Here's what I would say.
No.
The Buckeyes. All
Nebraska.
5 of us probably going to agree. The Buckeyes are the better team.
Yeah, they are. They're the better team. They're the better team.
By a good bit, the line reeks.
And guess what? Indiana is about I think they're about 10 points worse per 100 possessions outside of their home wood. They have not been good offensively on the road. This is a no-brainer, guys. Okay, listen, John, right now, pull up your fan. All four of us want to put $500 a piece in on Ohio State, but we can't give you the money right now. So go ahead and put it.
Well, I mean that's hardly worth my time.
Was that it? Well, listen, we're not. Listen, we don't have a Wall Street pedigree. We don't live on the river, and we don't sneak immigrants across the, like you do.
Well,
we don't get paid. So we just want you to cover us.
Okay, all right. I mean, I don't live on the river. I live next to it, by the way. And I want you to get confused.
That makes you even richer than if you don't live on the river.
Well, the Ozarks.
Clean words. The reason I'm watching. No
the Ozarks series, that's living on the river. The casino is on the river, right?
Yeah, well, that's the way they all in the Midwest there. That's how they got that law passed. They said, "Listen, we're only going to deal. We're only going to throw when it was floating." And then about as soon as the doors opened, they said, "This is too much trouble. We're not going to float anymore." Man, there you go. One thing led to another. Pocahontas showed up and said, "I'm rich."
Ohio State plus 3.5.
Okay.
John Ryan.
I see it. Yes, sir.
Give the people some sort of in-game strategy for those of us that are going to watch this thing to start rather than play right off the tip. Go ahead. You're good at this.
I did it last night in the NBA, actually. And it's pretty simple. In the Sixers game, they were trailing Orlando in the third quarter, and Orlando went on a 10-0, actually it was 11-0 run. And as usually the case, when that happens at the NBA level or the college level, there's a timeout by the opposing coach to regroup, settle things down. Lo and behold, Doc Rivers calls a timeout, gives me plenty of time to get the Sixers, who were down by 11 at the time. Actually, it was 12. I got the Sixers at minus 2.5 points in game. I think we all know how the game ended. So the same strategy would apply in this game. Indiana's kind of a plodding team. So you're going to have a reduced chance of having a 10-0 run against Ohio State. But should that happen at any time during the first half, and the first half only, you would take Ohio State in game. And depending on when it happens, if Ohio State's leading, if Indiana's leading by, say, 4, they go up by 14, you're going to get Ohio State at about 7.5 or 8.5, maybe even higher. 14-point lead probably is about 10 or 10.5 points live in game during the first half. And that would be, how do you say that, Finn? Almost like stealing. Double digits with Ohio State, I'm all over that.
You really think that's going to happen? Don't you think it's going to happen?
Well, there's no guarantee anything's going to happen in the game, but if it does happen, at least you have a plan and you're prepared to take advantage of it. So my recommendation would be do 50% at plus 3.5 pre-flop, and then be ready to pull the trigger if Ohio State is plus 10.5 at any point during the first half of the game only. It's irrelevant if they're plus 10.5 in the second half, because that means that they're getting killed. And
IU scores 5 more first half points at home than they do on the road.
Who does?
Indiana.
And Tony was about to bring this up. Like, if it's going to happen, this is one of the reasons that this is like a watch and wait. I don't think I'm going to get involved even live because it's not a thing that I want to do.
Well,
with guys, but
here's the deal. I say you just parlay them with the board. Parlay them with the board.
Well, explain that to the new viewers what that means in 30 seconds or less.
You key them with the field.
Mm-hmm. And how much money would that cost?
That's quite well. It depends on whether you're playing the Quinella, the trifecta, or the superfecta.
The combinations.
Yeah, it sounds like a horse race now.
Hey, side bet. EJ Liddell or Kofi Coburn for Big Ten Player of the Year. Which one are you taking, Tony?
I would take Keegan. Iowa.
I'm going to go with.
You love Iowa.
I'm going to go with Ron Howard.
From Happy Days?
I'm going to go with Opie.
Jesse Schul, what do you think of this game? And I know what you must be thinking of the four of us, especially yours truly. But what do you think of the game?
Well, John, it looks like you're begging for somebody to tell you you're wrong. And if you want somebody to play devil's advocate, sign me up.
Okay.
In reality, I think I agree with everything that Rob said. This is more of a watch for me. I'm not going to be betting on this game. And as Rob said, it's been really hard to get into the college basketball this year. I've just been starting to get my feet wet and still don't quite have the confidence that I do with, say, NHL or NFL or college football. But that said, I love to tell you you're wrong. And if I was going to tell you you're wrong, this would be the reason I would go with. The stat that you quoted, that Indiana ranks among the worst in the nation in turnover rate, I would say that there are things that a coach can fix on a team, and that is going to be one of them. If you're a poor shooting team, you can't shoot threes. If you can't rebound, there's certain limitations that you can't coach that out. You can't coach 6 inches on a power forward, and you can't coach a player to all of a sudden start hitting his shots. Some guys have the skill, some guys don't. But you can coach turning the ball over. You can limit that. And I would say that Indiana, being a quality program with a quality coach, I would hope that come the end of the year that turnover ranking is improved greatly, and I would expect that.
Good stuff, Jesse.
What do you mean? What did John? What did you say about the turnover ratio for Indiana? What did you say it was?
They're 305th in the nation of 357 Division I basketball teams, averaging 14.8 turnovers per game. And making that stat worse is that they're one of the slowest paced teams in the Big Ten and also nationally.
Those turnovers, are those non-steal turnovers? Or what are they? Kind of turnovers are they?
Total turnovers.
Yeah, I know. Okay, all right.
You're throwing the ball out of bounds, steals.
Yeah, okay, all right. I mean, if they're steal turnovers, is different than kicking the ball.
True.
Yeah, it's because first off, Ohio State plays slow. They play slow.
Now here's a question for you that
right?
To Jesse's point,
they are, and
way better. 6 turnovers last game, 11. They're averaging 3 less turnovers over the last 3 games.
And here's my question to you, and this is from my models now, the infamous predictive models, the Python generated stuff. Ohio State averages 55 and change field goals attempted per game. They're getting in condition. To me, and the models confirm this game tonight, the models are saying they're going to attempt 60 or more shots, which is about an 8% increase. And I don't look at it as just 5 extra shots. It's an 8% increase in pace. And that to me means that if Indiana turns the ball over more than 10 times, you're going to see fast break action. And their roster supports a faster style of game, in my opinion.
But Ohio State they don't turn teams over that much. Listen, Ohio State will kill Iowa on the boards tonight. Offensive rebounds.
No, Indiana.
Indiana, I'm sorry.
Nebraska.
They'll kill them on the boards tonight. Yep. Iowa, Indiana, same first letter.
And last.
Kill them on the boards.
This wasn't
Yeah,
we're gonna move on to the next topic.
Yeah, let's go on. Let's go on to
John, can I ask you one more question?
Yeah.
So the game that you love so much, why? Okay, do you have an opinion as to why it opened 2 and you can buy a hook and get 4
now?
Huh? Because more people are putting money on Indiana.
Why? Why would they do that? Why would they do that when Ken Pom has them 13 spots lower?
Well, because the average Joe doesn't look at Ken Pom. The average Joe goes to his app and says,
And you think?
Okay, I'm getting a Big Ten team at home.
And you think they move a line?
Who?
Who'd you say is
The
making
Weekend Warrior? A Weekend Warrior? A $20 bet is not going to move a line on this Big Ten game. I assure you.
Right. I think that's Chuck's point.
That's my point.
Is it?
I think the line.
Yeah, he's saying why is it moving?
It's moving.
You're telling him $25 is moving it.
I'm sorry. I'm absolutely right about that.
You always write about everything.
Wow.
Listen. Don't wish me luck because I can only have bad luck.
Right. We know that.
This line was moved because guess what? Iowa. It's Iowa. It's Iowa. It's Iowa.
Indiana, for God's sake.
Off the rails. All right, I took it all the way off the rails. I am sorry. Move along.
You shouldn't be sorry, damn it.
How about something serious, real quick, before John moves on? How about Johnny Davis for Big Ten MVP?
Oh, that's a
There
big
you go.
deal. That's a big deal right there.
Yep.
But Wisconsin
deal.
would have to play really well. But what he did in Mackey Arena was crazy.
Yeah. Listen. I have a hard time with whiskey. I really do. Their peripherals are not great, but they just effing win. They're not shooting the ball great. They're not shooting the ball great. But they do not turn the ball over. They do not hand you the ball. You got to earn that. And if Davis is playing, guys, they've been really good. The 2 losses they were without Davis, correct? So there you go. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's an interesting game too.
Very good point.
So the next topic is not on the menu that I gave you guys, but since Mr. Finn has joined us, I can't help myself, and I have no discipline.
Jesus, here we go.
Here we go. I have no discipline at all. But I'm surprised, Mr. Finn, you did not send me a message in Slack when it was announced that the Washington football team was going to announce their new mascot on February 7th.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think there's a hidden message. They were going to do it on February 2nd, but then it probably would have been a clue that they're going to be called the Groundhogs.
Yeah, maybe.
But
they could. I could already know what the name is because I got some.
It's Iron Condors. I'm telling you, they took my advice.
That's not what I heard.
Oh,
I heard it was
know.
going to kill me. I'm going to kill me a fucking hawk. It's going to be the Washington kill me a fucking hawk.
That's going to be hard to fit on a jersey.
No, I don't know. I heard that too, and I thought about you, and I thought, man, do we have to go through another? Because the first name, it's a given. In fact, if we could put some kind of wager on it, it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. Everything Schneider does, everything he touches, turns to S.
Yeah.
Poor Gruden. It's all Snyder's fault.
Well, I agree. I completely agree with that. But I am hopeful that my 150 emails and written letters that I sent directly to him reached him, and that they're going to shock everybody except us and announce that it's the Washington Iron Condors.
As long as you send them your payment for this month, you're safe. They will not turn them over.
I'm paid ahead.
There you go.
But it's not going to be the Red Wolves.
No.
That was actually the fans' number 1 pick.
And that was
the Washington football team's fans, when they did the poll, run by the franchise, not the media.
That's a total of 10 people. It's a total of 10 people.
Yeah, but that's statistically meaningful. That's a sample size.
Steve Merrill's one of those 10.
Yeah.
It's going to be the Washington Knives, the knife throwers.
So do you guys have any clue? I mean, if you don't have any clue, don't say anything. But does anybody know what it's going to be?
I do.
You do?
Well, I read a story that it's either fake news or, apparently the Washington football team's website is linked to another website, the WashingtonAdmirals.com.
Mm-hmm.
So
the Admirals.
That story's out there. That the cat's out of the bag already.
I think I know a certain Virginia player that might have got that copyrighted.
But football's played on the ground, and Admiral is a commander of a ship, isn't it?
That depends.
Yeah, well, Annapolis is right there in Maryland.
Yeah,
right. Maybe they'll play their games there. Yeah, that must be
There's an anteaters, for God's sake. There's a damn anteaters. A college called themselves the Anteaters.
And who is that? I forget. It's a basketball team.
Cal Irvine. No, Cal.
It's Irvine.
Who's the?
Cal Irvine. Cal Irvine. Isn't it?
Yeah,
I think it is Cal Irvine. Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, it's one of the Cals.
Irvine.
The Ruse.
Yeah.
If you're a Ruse, Who's that? UMKC.
That's UM Kansas City.
Yeah.
I know, right? Hey, UMKC.
When you got 350
They're balling this year, man.
Well, the next mascot we're going to talk about is the Warriors. Okay. They are located in San Francisco, if you don't know what I'm talking about yet.
Oracle.
Oracle. So I'm just excited as hell that I'm going to get to see Klay Thompson play again and play with Curry. And I saw a video of Klay Thompson doing a drill. It was shoot 25 consecutive shots from the corner, 3-point land. He drained the first 24 and missed the 25th. But at one point from about stretch number 11 through 19, the ball was barely moving the net. And I couldn't help but to think, oh, my God, if I was an opponent, this is the last team I want to face. I cannot imagine those two together again. And really anybody beating them. They're already 29-8.
They're not even the best team in the West. The Phoenix team, the Suns are the best team in the West.
Okay, well, tonight's game, that's what I'm segueing into here. We have the Pelicans, who are 13-25 on the season. Obviously not a good team, but they're actually favored.
Who?
The Pelicans.
Yeah, well, that's no Draymond, no Curry, and the metrics. Listen, the metrics support that Pelicans. Now we talked about that quite at length, and in truth, if Green's on the floor, I had a lean towards the under. Without Green, then no bigs in this game. Other than I think it's going to be a track meet. So my concern isn't Wiggins gets his, Poole gets his. I like this team. I like what Rob was mentioning earlier. I like the over. I liked a couple of the props. But I liked the other props the other way with no Green. I like Ingram over 30.5, and I like with no Curry. I liked Azubuike's roommate Devontae Graham over 20.5.
Yeah, and to your point, that the reason I did want to talk about this on the show today is that it opened at 220 for the total, and now it's trading hands at 210.5.
Yeah.
So my stuff is saying that I bet the over in this game.
Yeah. Rob will tell you. Rob will jump in here. It's an overreaction to Curry being out, and in truth, Curry. Listen, Curry doesn't. We've talked about this. Rob and I even talked about this. Curry doesn't get enough credit for the defense he plays on the perimeter. You know, he's known as being able to put the ball up from the, basically from the center circle and make those shots. But without him, without Draymond Green, I couldn't agree more with Rob. I'd have to be over this 211. I'm not in that room. I didn't play it. I have enough on the board already, but I agree with him.
And I agree with you, too, that it's going to be a faster-paced game with those guys out. I think it's going to be a track meet. Wait, what does Jesse Schull think? And then we'll hear from Dr. Chuck.
Jesse Schull, he wants you to disagree with him. Come on, Jess.
Oh, you don't have to always disagree with me.
I love disagreeing with you, John. What am I disagreeing with?
I mean, only a fool would bet the under in this game after it's already moved 11 points. Right? Well, you don't bet the under in this game.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. There's nothing I can say to disagree with that.
Well,
damn. Dr. Chuck, what do you have?
Well, and I think, Tony brought up a good point that him and Rob must have talked about on the NBA show, that we talk about this a lot when we're doing the NBA shows every day. It doesn't take a lot to go, who do you trust more? The money that moves stuff or the books where they put it originally? And so you get you can go, I mean, it doesn't take a lot to be excited to back a team that just scored 80 points, no matter who they're missing. I mean, they're going to wear that like a crown tonight and do everything.
That's a good point. First off, the books really don't set numbers nowadays.
Without anybody against everybody that's betting against them, and put up 115 points.
It's a good point. The books don't set the numbers anyway. The market sets the number, and it's an overreaction. I believe it's an overreaction to Curry.
I think so too. So here again, the in-game bet.
Again, that seems like Chuck's point. Is he's talking about what's moving things off the opening number. And I'll tell you this, guys, it's not – we see this every single day. It's not stupid public. I get so sick of that phrase. People talking about public money, sharp this, that. Forget all that nonsense. There's no $25 better at 9 o'clock a.m. Eastern time that's moving a line. At 7 o'clock a.m. Eastern time that's moving a line. We see this every single day in the NBA more than once. 2, 3, 4 times. If there's an injury, money groups, not $25 FanDuel bettors, money groups, automatically they fade the team that has the injury, and they'll push the total down. It's knee-jerk mechanical. They have no regard. I said this before on the NBA show. They have no regard for anything else except for the guy who's missing averages 20-some-odd points a game. I'm betting under. That's the end of their story. They got no regard for the defensive end of the floor. They've got no regard for what the size matchups are on the floor. There's a bunch of littles on the floor tonight. We talked about Phoenix and the Clippers on the other show. And the last week and a half or so, I've made a pretty good chunk betting Phoenix and Clippers games over the number. Just because for Phoenix, it's not just DeAndre Ayton. It's JaVale McGee. It's Jay Crowder. It's all their physicality. It's all their size that has turned them into a smaller team where they've gone up tempo and run up big numbers. And until those guys come back, I feel like they're going to continue to run up big numbers. The same exists for the Clippers. I mean, they're down 2 centers. I mean, if you count Isaiah Hartenstein as their number 2 center, they're down 2 centers. Serge Ibaka's a 3-point shooting stretch 4 playing center now for that team.
Right.
And they're built on a bunch of littles. So they don't defend well. Forget about what they can score. They don't defend well. Phoenix should be able to have their way.
114.
And right on the other side, if I flip it over, Phoenix's defense has gone all to hell because they have no rim protection. So the Clippers should score. All the logic that you can apply to these games, it doesn't exist in why these lines move. There's no logic behind these line movements other than, as I said earlier, it's mechanical.
There's not, Rob, you're right. There's not a more there's not a more versatile team in the West than Phoenix. They can play big. They can play small. And when they play small, as Rob's suggesting they've been doing lately because of McVie and with no DA, they get away from what they do well defensively, and they're not the best transition defensive team, Phoenix. But if you have to go against their half-court set with their big, they're a tough team to score on. They contest everything. But when they're running, then they get, like anything, defensive ratings get a little bit skewed. But you're right, Rob. And again, I still think they're the best team. I still think right now they're better than a healthy Warriors team. Now that may change. We'll find out. We'll find out what kind of effect bringing back the injured from Golden State does. I'm curious. When's Wiseman? Do we have a date on Wiseman as well?
Close to Thompson's, right? I mean, they've both been.
I thought it was right after.
Okay.
They're very close.
It's gonna be, listen, if you like Wiseman, I liked Wiseman. I remember when he was when Memphis was getting. I remember Wiseman. Listen, until he said, listen, you can't pay him anymore, and they had to let him, escape Memphis. Memphis was undervalued with Wiseman as a freshman, if you remember. It was good. Yeah. There goes the doctor. He's going to hide the Quaaludes.
I heard the kids were getting loud. John, I'll wrap this up for you real quick because you started on Golden State and I drifted to Phoenix. But the same logic applies here. There's a 10-point line move against the over all the way down from 220 to 210.5. Now it's been bit back up a little bit. But
that figures.
Golden State shoots 5 of 28 from the 3-point line last night. And on the floor tonight, even without Curry, there's Jordan Poole. There's Andrew Wiggins. I'm missing the third guy here. Tone, help me out. There's 3 3-point shooters still on this team on the floor tonight against New Orleans, who doesn't necessarily defend the 3 all that well. And if I look at the other side, when Brandon Ingram for New Orleans first looks at this game, it's probably a nightmare. For 40 minutes, I'm going to have Draymond in my shorts. It ain't happening tonight. So Brandon Ingram should play well. The guards on the other side should play well offensively. And it just looks like one of those games where you've got smaller scorers against smaller scorers. And the game, 210.5 by NBA standards is not a lot of points. I think I said earlier, you're going to tell me I can't get 106, 105 out of this game, then, I guess I lose.
Well, yeah, Otto Porter can listen. Otto Porter,
there you go.
Yeah. I mean, even Gary. Listen, Gary Payton played pretty well the last time Curry did, and he's not a shooter. He's not a guy who's going to lights out. But I agree. I mean, they were.
Valanciunas in the middle could have a field day against Kevon Looney. There's a lot of offensive matchups that work here, and again, it's real money that pushed this thing from 220 to 210.5. So the people who associate real money with always sharp money in the NBA, I think it's the least effective of all. When I watch these things every single time,
I agree.
These guys have a mantra. They have a certain mantra. They injuries and play those games under. And I don't know. Yeah. If you're contrarian to that, you make out pretty well, I think.
I'm contrarian after it happens.
Line moves in the NBA are not that reliable. They're just not. Rob's right. They're not as near as reliable as college basketball. And even those, but
you know what a move like this reminds me of? Yeah. A big move like this reminds me of a stock that's getting hammered in the market, like the last couple of days, right? So the technology, real estate stocks have gotten hit pretty hard. So everybody is selling, and the sentiment now is overwhelmingly to the bearish side regarding real estate stocks and some technology. I mean, Apple's going to be Apple. Yeah. But the point is that you get so many people short a stock, and then all of a sudden you have a reverse move that is violent. So, if it was 230 to 210, for example, on a technology stock, and it's still a good story long term, I would be looking at buying it and then expecting that short squeeze to blow those guys out of the water. And I think the same thing with this movement here. The world is on the under. And in game, if I was lucky enough to have this game at 219.5 on the under from this morning, I would either be looking at buying it back now or in game at like 206. Because 14 points, I mean, how could you not play that? There's no risk there. There's no risk.
I'm not waiting for in game. I'm already listen.
If you're
call me the hedgehog, I've already hedged. I've just played every cent of it back to a 10-point middle in the NBA.
Yep. Let's look at I think a football game here in the NFL. Now, I want to give a little shout out to our comrade and good friend Rocky Atkinson.
Rocky didn't come on. We ran him off.
Yeah, I invited him, but he as famous as he is right now, and I'll tell you why if you don't already know.
Okay, he's not like on that list anymore, is he?
No, it's not. No, I guess he's still on that list, but he's hitting 73% for the season in the NFL. Okay. So I started the show off this morning. It's on Sports Memo TV. You guys probably think it's pretty funny because I don't bust stones too much, but Buster's the third member of our panel, and I start out, welcome to the show, and gentlemen, our show the last 5 weeks is hitting 75% against the number. 12-4-2 is our record officially over on the show. And that's even better than Rocky, and I go through the 73%. But then I go, hey, Buster, you know what? Our show record would be better if this third guy named Rocky would actually be able to pick a damn winner on the show. Yeah. He's gone 0 for 3, yet he gives his premium picks to his customers, and the show only hits 75% because he's 0
for 3. If I'm gonna throw some bad picks around, I'm hoping it's on the damn show.
Right.
Oh, we go through streaks where we're much better on the show than we are in the premium.
Well, unfortunately, that's
that's just the way it is. But so I wanted to talk about he gave out a pick today, and I think Rocky's due to win one, and he's on the Tennessee Titans. So they're playing.
Thank you for telling me because I'm going right now. I'm going to bet Houston.
Well, here's my question. That line looks funny to me.
Why?
And I want to know if you guys agree with me. 10.5. The Texans have their golf clubs at the stadium, and they've been there for 4 weeks, if not longer.
Man.
They have nothing to play for. Why would they want to spoil Tennessee's number 1 seed?
Oh, it's a divisional matchup, and they don't like Tennessee at all. In fact, they already beat them, if I'm not mistaken.
I didn't think of looking it up because I didn't think the Texans beat too many people this year, and it wasn't worthwhile looking up.
They beat them.
I think you are right now. I do recall that.
I might be right.
Okay, so why isn't the line 17.5?
Well, just because of what we just talked about.
If there's revenge and they have the number 1 seed on the line,
Houston's not even healthy. I mean, Tennessee is first. They should have never beaten Pittsburgh. Gave them a game 3 weeks ago, and they benefited from the scheduling gaffe. Really, the truth is, this team's still beat up. They're not a team that I'm going to be laying a big number to cover in a game that if this thing gets to the fourth quarter. And they're up by 8. They're not going to try to score. They're going to try to.
But look who they beat. Look who they beat the last 2 weeks. They should have never won those games. I mean, on paper, with all the injuries.
Who they beat?
Bills game.
They were winning record teams.
They haven't beat anybody.
Yes, Miami.
Listen, Miami had been playing really well. Okay, and what they were able to do to Miami, they played that almost perfectly. I thought, and Miami made a couple mistakes, and of course. Dominoes take control. So
ask Jesse. What's the surest bet in Vegas, Jesse?
The surest bet in Vegas?
Tua to throw
a pick. Sure thing. Absolute sure thing.
Tua to throw a pick?
Tua to throw a pick.
Oh, Tua to throw a pick. Yeah, no. I was going to point out that Miami, they're playing well, but they're playing well against who? If you look at that 7-game win streak, they beat the Jets twice. They beat Houston. Yep. I mean, that was the who's who of who you'd want to play during a 7-game stretch. I mean, they got, their 7-game win streak was meaningless when you really broke down who they were beating, when they were beating them, the backup quarterbacks they were facing.
3rd year in a row, right? This is what they do. This is what they do.
I will say this. I couldn't agree with you more, Jesse. That has a difference. However, in the NFL, to win 7 games in a row, I don't care. You better be playing. You almost have to be playing the D League, NBA. You still have to perform. You can't begrudge them whatever's in front of you. You have to play them. You have to beat them. So it's not easy to do. But there's a lot of teams that way this year. I would agree with you on that. But listen, Miami's capable. They got better. Listen, I thought they were well coached this year. He's the one guy. The coach of Miami is the one disciple of Belichick. I think is the best disciple of Belichick, and the guy who I think if you give him a Kansas City Chiefs or you give him a Green Bay Packers or something, I think that I think he's a guy that can take him to the Super Bowl. I like.
What if you give him Deshaun Watson?
Well, then you're probably going to be in a strip joint with a couple girls that filed a lawsuit against you.
All right, what if you give him Deshaun Watson and he's going to play 16 games, 17 games? There you go.
Deshaun Watson?
Yeah,
I think. Listen. I don't think Tua gets. Listen, I don't want to belittle Tua too much. There's a lot of things that go. I've said this before many times. Sometimes in a career, I'm a big Jameis Winston fan, guys. I think that there's 2 passes. There's 2 passes this year. First off, this team was 4-2 when he went down. When Winston went down, and look at them now. If they had Winston, they're in the playoffs, and they're a lot more dangerous. And Winston hasn't made the best decisions, but typically in a quarterback's career, you're a product of what's around you. You're a product of your offensive line. You're a product of your skill set around you. And a lot of times you're a product of 2 decisions. Were they good or were they bad? And that's the truth.
You know that Miami is the only team in NFL history to have a 7-game losing streak and a 7-game win streak in the same season.
Correct. Well, I think that's ridiculous.
There's only
17 games with 16 before this. Sometimes, and for a long time, only 14. That means you had win 7, lose. Yeah, that's pretty silly.
They lost the first 7. They lost to Buffalo, Las Vegas, the Colts, Tampa Bay to start the season. That's pretty brutal schedule right there.
I thought they were 1-7, weren't they?
I
think they were.
I think you're right. They ended up 1-7.
Over the Patriots.
They lost to Jacksonville.
They won week 1.
They lost
in Gillette.
Yeah. They lost to Atlanta. Not a good. No, I mean they were, I guess, a contender. I don't even know what you call that. But then they lost to Buffalo again. But then they beat the Texans. I mean, that's impressive. They beat Baltimore. That is impressive. They beat the Jets by 7. I'm not impressed. And they beat Carolina, the Giants, the Jets, the Saints.
Who's the highest scoring team in the NFL the last 6 weeks?
Dallas.
No.
Oh, Dallas is for the season. You're right. The last 6 weeks?
The last 6, 7, or 8 weeks, right in there. Oh, who is it?
Well,
Robbie?
Miami.
Leslie? No.
No, not Miami.
No.
Pats?
No.
Indianapolis.
You're in the right division.
No.
Buffalo?
The Patriots. They scored 50, 53 or whatever. The Jets are? Well, then that's a very impressive win by Miami over the Jets then.
Well, yeah. Come on.
See? You can look at it any way you want, I guess.
Okay, so without belaboring this point further, Tony has said, I like Jameis Winston, I like Tua, and I agree. Like, there are redeeming factors in this thing, but I've said this for a long time. There's nothing more damning in all of sports, the major sports, than having a good quarterback. It's
having what?
A good quarterback. If he's bad, you can survive. If he's great, you can go forward. If you have a good quarterback, it's Andy Dalton for 12 years, and it just doesn't. There's nothing more damning in all of the major sports than having a good quarterback.
Yeah, I would agree.
Trent Dilfer that.
I don't think it's a good thing to have a good quarterback. I think it's an absolute. It's an absolute given. You have to have a good. The way the NFL's played today.
I'm sorry.
It's
full stop good.
Yeah.
I would substitute good with the word consistent. Because in the city of brotherly love, boy, you throw one interception, they're ready to hang you.
Right, and I agree. But here's what I'm saying is like Andy Dalton.
Trent Dilfer isn't winning a Super Bowl in 2021.
Right.
I think Trent Dilfer fits into Chuck's point though, because Trent Dilfer might be below good, and his team might have
he was consistent.
Right. There's examples of it, guys. I mean, what was Brad Johnson, guys? He won a Super Bowl.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
You know, I mean, Trent Dilfer and Brad Johnson won 2 Super Bowls in 3 years. I think 2000 and 2003. Those are your quarterbacks.
Okay.
Right.
I'm sorry. The guy that you can't you're going to accidentally go 10-6 because he's that good. But that's it.
Yeah.
So Brad Johnson and Trent Dilfer, they were stopgaps. They were, sure they got rings and things like that. But what I mean is the Matthew Staffords in Detroit, the Andy Daltons in Cincinnati, those type of situations. Tua in Miami. Like
Well, they make Super Bowls though, Chuck. Jake Delhomme made a Super Bowl. Matt Hasselbeck made a Super Bowl.
Jeff Hostetler.
Honestly, guys, now we know he's a Hall of Famer, but how good really was Ben Roethlisberger when he beat the Seahawks? He sucked.
Beat the Seahawks.
I think he's one of the worst 10 quarterbacks to win a Super Bowl, Ben Roethlisberger.
Oh, absolutely.
I think so. Yeah.
And then in 2009, one of the best.
Yeah. I mean, football just becomes the ultimate team game. I kind of hate when people, especially national media, singles out quarterbacks win games or the quarterback won this many. Tom Brady won this many Super Bowls.
But that's Tom
Without
Brady
Adam Vinatieri, Tom Brady doesn't win 3 Super Bowls if Adam Vinatieri isn't clutch on the last play of the game half the time. So, I mean, it's the ultimate team game, period. End of story.
Well,
you'd rather have an above-average quarterback for sure.
I don't think Joe Namath was anything special personally either.
I mean, Kurt Warner turned out to be great, but Kurt Warner was thrown into the fire out of sheer necessity, a grocery store clerk. They were scared to death.
Dick Vermeil made Kurt Warner.
Well, you know what? At least he showed faith in him, but behind the scenes, he didn't have faith in him.
And I screwed this whole show up. I am sorry. I screwed this whole show up.
I did? I
screwed the whole show up. I apologize.
You were asking the question, why in the world is Tennessee only favored by 10 over Houston? That was
I mean, I want to meet somebody that would have the balls like I would to take the Texans in the circuit contest at plus 10.5.
Well, here's what you consider.
Because I think I'm going to do it. And not because of Rocky. I just think it's such a weird pick that it's probably going to win.
If you do it, it's not that far-fetched in this particular week 18. Tennessee we're going to make up a scenario, right? Yeah. Tennessee goes ahead 24-7, fourth quarter.
Yep.
They're number 1 seed, yank everybody. Houston 6-1 in the end zone at the end of the game. It lands 24-14, you win. That's what you're fearing if you're laying those points. And that's why it's dangerous in these games with these teams that are going to the playoffs. Once they get what they need secured, everybody out. It's like a preseason game all of a sudden. Hit the bricks. Nobody's getting hurt. So
why was Kansas City flexed to a Saturday when Tennessee's playing on a Sunday?
Didn't seem too fair to me.
Well, I mean, what it does is this, and as Kansas City happens to lose, then Tennessee, everything changes for Tennessee on Sunday.
They don't even have to play the game.
Right. I didn't understand that flex, but then I didn't read about it. I purposely stayed away from listening to opinions somebody might have, unless the NFL, was savvy enough to give you a lie and base it on something that is a fiction. I don't know.
And that's one reason I would bet the Circa, one of my 5 picks with them, because that line's going to be static. It's not going to change based on the news, and the only thing that line can do is go down. Right?
Of course.
I mean, it's obviously a popular pick because it hasn't moved whatsoever. Nobody's betting Tennessee, so the Houston side is obviously a popular pick even earlier.
Yes, it is. It is. It is. You're absolutely right. And then if you're going to play it that way, Johnny, you got to play Green Bay because that line's not going anywhere. But the opposite way, if Rodgers decides he's not going to dress,
and I have that game off the board right now.
Who was watching Peyton and Eli? Peyton brought
watched it. I watched
Peyton
it.
brought that up. Peyton brought that up about Matt LaFleur maybe sitting him, and he said, "Yeah, that'll be the day," is what he said.
Right.
So but then you can't trust Aaron Rodgers as far as you can throw him. He loves getting into the media's heads and making villains out of the media, and he purposely does this shit, man. He's a Tom Brady. He and Tom Brady, masters of controlling those situations. Masters.
I'm going to say this real quick, getting back to the Tennessee-Houston game in defense of the Tennessee Titans. I was doing a show with Ski about 3 weeks ago, and on that particular Friday, I was scanning future odds, and we're on the show, and I told him, I said, I just took Tennessee plus 850. To win the AFC.
Yeah.
And 3 weeks later, plus 850.
Wow. You can get better than that.
It's only plus $5 now, or maybe less. But the point being, it took 3 weeks for the national media to understand or have the foresight to know that, oh my God, Derrick Henry's going to come back. I think we all knew Derrick Henry was coming back. I think we all knew A.J. Brown and Julio Jones were going to be back for the playoffs. It's interesting to me that Bud Dupree can go into a Walmart in Nashville and beat the shit out of somebody and get no penalty from the team. Wait a minute, we need you too much. Because since they added Bud Dupree, if they're not one, guys, they're number 2 in sacks in the AFC. And all that teams needed the last couple of years is 2 or 3 extra defensive stops. That's all they've needed. They could never get them. And now all of a sudden they can get they're better than Kansas City, in my opinion. They're better than New England. They're better than Buffalo.
You think they're better than Kansas City?
I do. With their full team, I really do.
Where are they better defensively than you're saying? Certainly not offensively. Right?
Well, they're every bit the equal offensively. How could they not be? They're every bit the equal of Kansas City offensively. How could they not be?
I guess if you listen, I personally, I would respectfully disagree. Only that I would never trust. I would trust Mahomes.
There's your edge.
That would be where I would have. But I wouldn't argue with you. Listen, when they're healthy, my goodness, when they're healthy,
and Dante Foreman, for what it's worth, has run the ball like a madman, and Derrick Henry's absence.
Shocking.
And they just got their 2 starting offensive tackles back for last week's game and destroyed Miami defensively. Destroyed them. And A.J. Brown came back that one game and gets 11 catches for 100 and some odd yards. They can score on anybody. The question always with them was, and the question resurfaces with Kansas City, right, Tone, on defense, because they get shellacked by Cincinnati through the year. Jamar Chase has 260 or whatever it was yards receiving.
Guess what?
Kidding me?
I don't think there's. I think the way that Burrow's played the last 2 weeks and the way the plays. Listen, I'm a big Cincinnati fan. I won my fantasy league, or my wife won hers because of Burrows this season. Burrows, Mixon, Dixon, all that. You're right. But do you trust? Another thing in here. I don't know how much weight do you put on coaches in the playoffs? I also trust Andy Reid, despite the fact that he didn't win a Super Bowl with Philly. I just trust him.
I think you have to, but to that point, I would say Mike Vrabel's been around the postseason now, going to be his third straight time, and he's been around Kansas City in these matchups.
Yes, he has.
We all know what he said he's willing to sacrifice for a Super Bowl, right?
What's that?
What Mike Vrabel's willing to sacrifice for a Super Bowl?
Was his virginity? I don't know what.
Chuck, tell him. One of his boys.
Yeah.
What, his children?
He'll cut one of his boys off.
He can go Lance. He's willing to go Lance. He'll go full Lance.
Oh,
I'm lost.
That's just way too much information.
That's
holy
horrendous.
Crap. I can tell you a story, but I'm not going to tell you the story on that. Not in this room.
I mean, is it Lorena Bobbitt going to do the work, or who's going to do the work?
No, crap, man.
He goes for the Brill deal.
Well, I know that
He's
name.
going to die, but
Vrabel said it. I mean, he's on the record as saying that's what he's willing to do.
I mean, guys, it's like a kid.
Well,
we need one.
You know what?
Good
luck to him. I really hope I catch the ticket. To tell you the truth.
Is it a dull knife, or does it have to be a doctor?
A dull knife?
Will he allow it to be done with a dull knife, or does it have to be done by a doctor?
He's trying to one-up Ronnie Lott is what he's trying to do.
Yeah. Cut off his finger?
Oh, I thought you said one of his boys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we're talking about
two boys. I don't know about you. I got two.
Are you talking about his fingers and being one of his boys? Because that's not what I'm thinking a boy is.
No, he's trying to one-up Ronnie Lott because Ronnie Lott's only willing to give up a finger, and Mike Vrabel's willing to give up one of his boys.
Yeah.
See, now I understand now.
But Ronnie Lott, it happened on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
that is true.
When I see Vrabel out there with one of his boys being kicked around by a couple guys, then he's got my attention and my respect.
I mean, the way it's being done with a spoon or a dull knife and where it's being done, I think is moot.
Well, I don't know. Dull knife. I get like it's raising the hair on the back of my neck right now, thinking about a dull knife and then you kicking my boy around the field.
Well,
some guys just talk
significant because at times you look at that type of team,
that'd be
playing like they're willing to sacrifice those boys.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, listen. I'm not that. I know that gullible is a word. You get it?
And Antonio Brown's name right behind it.
Tony Finn, let me ask you this real quick.
I know gullible is a word, and when someone tells me that they're willing to lose one of their boys for a Super Bowl, I'm not believing that.
Tony.
Yeah.
A few minutes ago.
Yeah.
When you were talking about Brian Flores.
Yeah.
And rightfully so, said that he is the one Belichick disciple that turned out. Vrabel never coached on the coaching staff, but when you played for Belichick for 14 or so years, the way he did, you could almost consider him a disciple as well.
No, I don't. I do consider him a disciple, but I don't know what it is. You know, I never thought that Notre Dame would make some of the hires they've made, and when you have to coach from a rascal, and you couldn't coach in the first friggin' place. You know, that was a strange hire, right? And then there's Crennel too, which I never understood. There's certain guys I just like Flores, and that I may be completely off my rocker, but I just kind of have that. I like what he's done there with a team I thought was overvalued last year. So. Yeah,
no, I'm not even disputing that. I'm just saying, do you consider Vrabel in that same?
No, I do. I consider him a disciple. But there's something about I don't know. There's something about Vrabel that if it came down to you had 30 seconds to make an adjustment and call a play, I'm not sure. I definitely would choose Flores. I'd choose Andy Reid. I'd choose probably 10 other coaches before I'd choose him. That's all. And not that would ever happen, Yeah.
But I feel like, guys, somebody's going to have to help me out here because it's in my head, in my memory, but I can't place what he did. But I do believe that there was a punt play or some type of kick play against New England a year or two ago where Vrabel actually out-tricked Belichick.
Well, I like it. I like that.
That is true.
I wish I could remember what the rule was, guys. Yeah. I was unfamiliar with it at the time, but he actually pulled a Belichick on Belichick in that game, and for the better. I can't remember what the hell he did now, but
I'm a big Sean Payton fan too, Robbie. However, I'm not, and I like the man that coaches the Detroit Lions, but I've watched him coach this year, and unless he's a better man than me, and I'm meaning a smarter man than me, a savvier man, that I'm the guy that has to put my hand on the stove 5 times before I look at you and say, you know something, you were right. That sumbitch is hot. Unless he does a much better job. He had some situational decisions this year that were abysmal, But
he's a guy, real quick, that's got to surround himself with brains, because on the motivational end, he's got it over almost all other 31 coaches motivationally.
Yes. Agreed.
But X and O and strategy and what that, he's kind of a caveman, for lack of a better word.
I like that. I agree.
NFL players respond to a caveman. I think that's why Detroit plays their asses off for him, because they relate to that. But you're right. You got to surround – that staff has to be smart. Otherwise, you get fired with just motivational aspect. That's not enough.
Yeah, agreed.
Hey, Rob, was it something to do with penalties? It was something to do with penalties, right?
I have it. I have it in front of me here.
He kept taking he purposely held, right? I think he purposely held, and he kept getting something happened.
Well, it was a plethora. It was a plethora. It was a container, a folder that was just labeled. I don't understand.
The point is, usually Belichick gets over on everybody else with that type of stuff. And
time,
this guy got over on him, and Belichick didn't like it. I remember watching the game. I just can't remember what he did.
Have you guys been watching Men in the Arena? Have you been watching Men in the Arena?
I saw the first 2 episodes. I still have the rest to go.
I prefer women.
Vrabel. Yeah, I know. But Vrabel has that. It's funny that you were talking about Dan Campbell being like a caveman, because Mike Vrabel kind of has that appearance, but he's not.
I don't think I know this, and that is, people always say, well, Bill Belichick does a great job of putting good people around him, and I would respectfully disagree with that. Let me tell you something. Bill Belichick makes all the decisions. He makes all those coaches who they are. If you're a coach and you want to be a coach and you want to serve under Belichick, and you're going to listen, then you're going to become a better coach because of Belichick. He's not going to become a better coach because of you. I believe that wholeheartedly, and everyone I've ever talked to has told me that. The ones I respect, Belichick is just, he's Hercules, of the half God, half man, right?
So he was a flop the first time around, but if Josh McDaniels gets a second chance, do you think Josh McDaniels will be a better head coach this time?
Well,
or do you think he's an offensive coordinator and that's it?
I think he's a Shanahan. Right now, he's a Shanahan to me. See, I never thought Shanahan. I mean, when your last job or your last assignment was Shanahan's, and you still got the money, you got to go to San Francisco because Shanahan. What happened in that Super Bowl with Belichick and Brady was, and you got a 28-point lead and you're throwing the ball. What the hell is that?
Didn't it happen in another Super Bowl against Kansas City?
Every one of our Manny's Pub comes back to this.
It's fun.
It really does. It really does.
We don't care.
We finished Manny's Pub the last time me and Rob and John were doing this with 28-3.
We don't like structure. We don't like structure. We hate being told what to do. Tell me that I've got to get a vaccine. Okay. Where's the line? I'm in. If there's free drugs at the end of that line, I'm in that damn line. You guys know that.
I mean, yeah. Now that we're all over this again, getting back to Tom Brady and quarterbacks winning Super Bowls. I mean, if Pete Carroll's not such a dumbass, he doesn't win that Super Bowl either.
Yeah.
I mean, Lynch is 6 inches away from a game-winning touchdown.
Holy shit! You had to bring that up because that is my pants, my pocket, my I'm a lot lighter because of that decision. Holy shit!
Hey, and Rob, it's funny that you brought up flop the first time because the people right here think Belichick was. And he wasn't.
Right.
You're not a flop just because you benched the hometown favorite quarterback. That doesn't make you a flop.
No.
I got the answer.
Listen, he wasn't a flop. No, he wasn't a flop. He was a young.
All he did was
bench Barry
Kosar, and that makes you a flop around here.
And who the hell wants to
NFL Network? The NFL Network does a great documentary on that Cleveland Browns team, and that coaching staff was loaded.
Kosar, man.
Oh my God, those guys all went on to be fantastic coaches.
Yes, and the truth is, and I'm going to get some drive-bys. I'm going to get some Twitter drive-bys. But who the hell wants to coach in Cleveland?
Fair.
Well, the weather's shit.
No, yeah, unless you like sleet and hail off Lake Erie and 20 below where you can't drive down the road without sliding in a couple.
But some people like that, Tony Finn. Hey, there are people that like that kind of weather. There's people I know that live in Vancouver.
Tony, the people around here, last year was the best year of their lives for the last 30 years.
Who?
The Patriots, that Tom Brady left and the Patriots went downhill because they're dead positive that Belichick is a nothing in the coaching ranks. And I'm just like, you guys are so dense.
Who are these people?
The Cleveland people.
They haven't had brain operations or anything, have they?
Well, but I mean,
whoa! I mean, that's pretty bold.
To start off, their question got answered pretty quickly.
They still have flashbacks of Sam Ratigliano, right? I mean, there's another guy who blew a playoff game and a chance at the Super Bowl. Hey, of course, I'm a Broncos fan, so the drive and the fumble.
I think of
Marty Schottenheimer said, "Listen, go ahead and fumble that because I want to go down."
Hey, listen.
What about Brian Sipe?
As a Broncos fan, it'd be a poster of Ernest Biner in my bedroom if I could have found one at the time.
And Brian Sipe.
Yeah.
Well,
right?
Brian Sipe threw the interception for Ratigliano, I think, in the end zone.
Which Finn is telling us was intentional.
And he had the game won. Just kick the field goal, you win the game, Cleveland.
You guys want to know the answer to the Mike Rabel question that I took so long to find?
Yeah.
Belichick ran a double reverse with a pass to Tom Brady, who then unathletically got into the end zone.
Right.
Okay.
He ran the same exact play with Mariota against Belichick and scored. And in the press, it was a press interview. They
suit waiting to happen.
Wait, I'm not done yet.
Okay,
I'm not done yet. All right. So in the press interview, they asked Rabel, like, well, what made you call that play? Didn't you think Belichick was going to be prepared for it? And he says, well, actually, we just called the play because we wanted to see how it compared to his. It was actually, he actually said it pretty funny. I mean, it was.
I think.
Yeah.
I got it right here.
Go
ahead.
Not to agree to disagree, but here's what I think it is. I think it's when it was fourth down in the playoffs last year, and he just kept taking a false start penalty, and the clock started running, and he false started, and the clock started running, and is that what happened?
Yeah, I got it right here because I had to look.
But the false start would make the clock stop.
No,
it doesn't happen often.
Yeah,
but Patriots coach Bill Belichick got a taste of his own medicine on Saturday, and it came during a pivotal point during New England's 20-13 loss to Tennessee. During the fourth quarter of the game, Titans coach Mike Vrabel exploited a loophole in the NFL rulebook that allowed Tennessee to run 1 minute and 49 seconds off the clock without running a single play. And it was fitting because it was the same strategy that Belichick used during a 33-0 win over the Jets in October. So there it was. That's what I was thinking of.
So what did he do?
Out Belichicked Belichick.
Dead ball. He kept committing a dead ball penalty.
Right.
And
a false start's not a dead. A false start is a pre-snap.
I'll read it word for word.
Yeah.
Titans had a 4th and 5 from the Patriots 36, 4th and 5, with just 6:33 left to play. Due to the weather, Vrabel didn't want to kick a field goal, so he decided to punt the ball. But not until after his team took a delay of game penalty, which took the clock from 6:33 down to 5:52. Following that penalty, the Titans got a fresh 25-second play clock, and they let the new clock tick down to 0 before taking a false start penalty, which didn't sit well with Belichick. At that point, the clock was down to 5:28.
And those penalties,
for two penalties, the Titans were finally going to punt it, but then the Patriots jumped off sides, which allowed the Titans to take the clock down to 5:13. After that penalty, the Titans got another fresh 25-second clock, and by the time they finally snapped it, there was only 4:50 left to play, including the punt. The clock actually ticked all the way down from 6:33 to 4:44 without running a play. And
it's impressive.
And I remember Belichick was just so pissed off on the sidelines, but it's funny when it gets done to him. Because
I agree.
Everybody. So Vrabel's not a stooge. I think that was the point. He's not a stooge. He's pretty smart coach.
But he has that. So I guess what I meant was he kind of had. If you were to watch an interview like that interview where they kept asking about that linebacker, he does look like he kind of gives that Dan Campbell appearance, like he is right. He's just a big lineman. I don't know what I'm doing type guy, but he's not.
To me, he's learned a lot. I didn't think he was really good at the beginning of his career, but I think as time's gone by, he's gotten a lot better with the way he handles the Titans. So we'll see. I mean, again, John, we really drifted off your plus 10 with the Texans, but I think everybody here kind of agrees that.
Well, it was 10.5.
If Kansas City, which is probably not going to happen, they're not going to lose to Denver, but if they do, you might as well have that 10.5 now because you won't have it Saturday if they lose that game.
Did you guys see? I don't know if you saw this or not. It was from Furman, and I don't know if you follow Todd Furman or not, or those guys. They're more like Fox guys. But did you see that? And it's unlikely to happen, which sucks. But if the Jaguars were to somehow beat the Colts, did you see what happens on Sunday night?
For the Chargers Raiders?
Raiders Chargers both get in with a tie.
Oh, yes. So then they were talking about maybe doing a 60-minute kneel down.
Yeah.
Just kneel down. Can you imagine Al and Chris just talking about some shit while each team just kneels and punts and kneels and punts?
Brandon Staley said he would never do it, but I did see that.
I don't know if two teams could ever trust each other enough to get to that point, but that would be some TV right there.
Well, I mean, you both get in, so you're kind of partners in crime when the gentleman's handshake on that,
especially when winners in, losers out.
It's done in soccer all the time, by the way. It happens all the time in international soccer, in round robin tournaments.
Exactly, and that's
a lower scoring type of sport. It's easier to hide.
To get away with and make it look like you're not doing it on purpose.
Yeah, because I was going to say, Jesse, how do you pull that off? Just stare at the ball for 90 minutes? I mean, that's basically what a kneel down is for an entire season.
Well, there's no rules against this, right? I mean, other than Goodell would look like an idiot. There's no rules.
I mean, when has he not looked like an idiot?
Right, but there's no rules against it. It's perfectly allowed, right?
I guess you could just run the ball, and literally, make sure you don't get that first down on the other side of the field ever. And
take an illegal procedure or something. Sure, false start. Oh, boy, sorry, we're backed up 5.
I fall on the John side of this. Why would you not? I mean, of course, the Colts will probably just wipe the Jaguars away and it'll be moot. But why would you not want to consider this when you won't have any injuries? You'll be going into the playoffs fresh. You're both getting in. It's just, I don't know. It sounds like a no-lose situation.
But anytime you hurt the sport that bad, everybody loses. I mean, if you actually had to see
the integrity of the game.
If you drag the integrity of the game through
is
the mud that
much. Is it really the integrity of the game? This is the rules. We can get into the playoffs.
I'm wondering if there is a rule in the rule book that's buried in there. It says that if a team acts
I hope not.
To the contrary of the integrity of the game, in so many words, that they forfeit. So both teams would then forfeit if they tie, and it's obvious that they tie. So then what happens?
John? Too subjective.
That would be appalling.
I mean, integrity. Back to Tony Finn's point, there's no integrity when you flex the team battling for the number 1 seed to Saturday, so the other team can watch your result. I mean, that's just to get ratings. That's all that flex is for, because we need Pat Mahomes on prime time, and
I also don't recall. I don't remember. You guys correct me. I didn't think they played Sunday night footballs on week 17. I thought we had everything was played.
Yeah, it was on 1 o'clock.
Well, they do it always if it's like winter and you're in.
Well, now they got that play-in. Basically, the Raiders and the Chargers are a play-in game there, but they put it prime time, didn't they? Sunday night.
Mm-hmm. So, what's the record for in the last since 1980 in the NFL for most punts in a game?
Record?
Yeah.
22.
Oh, I wouldn't know, but I would guess probably 15, 17.
16. It's happened 1 time, 13 1 time, 12, 9 times, 50 times with 11 punts.
At 15, you basically punted every possession.
Pretty much.
You didn't fumble, you didn't get picked, you just punted.
Unless your coach was coached for Houston or SMU or Hawaii, and you had Moon as a quarterback, and your 3 and outs lasted about 8 seconds.
Well, then you could get 22 punts off.
Exactly.
You got 22 possessions.
Exactly.
But the NFL, if you get 13 or 14, that's a big number.
Yes, it is.
I'm sorry. I
Especially since the clock started, and we've changed the rules, with it affected totals greatly, which are shocking. The clock used to stop when you ran out of bounds. Didn't start back up again until the snap of the ball.
Right.
The clock used to stop all the time.
Well, I mean, no, it would still run. It wouldn't stop on a running play like now.
But I mean, the clock used to stop like every play after five minutes or under in the fourth quarter, didn't it?
I think it was always. I think it was. I thought maybe I'm wrong, but I just thought they changed that rule. It was just the out of bounds. If you went out of bounds, because we had so much wing, there was so many. That the West Coast offense was basically an extended handoff, and San Francisco was you get a 4 or 5 yard gain. And if you remember, back when 40s were big numbers in the NFL, San Francisco was a 48 or 49, maybe even a 50. That was unheard of.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with the last game being the one I wanted to, I think we can gloss over. We'll leave the Georgia Alabama till tomorrow. Because that needs more than 5 minutes time. But
free beer tomorrow.
Similar situation to what you guys are talking about is the 49ers and the Rams. So Dallas plays first in Philly. Okay, they're the 4 seed right now.
Yep.
If they lose, they don't go down because they're the division champ. They can't do any worse than number 4.
Right.
But there's a caveat to that, John.
But they could be number 2.
Yeah, but they can't do everything. Can't work perfectly. But the caveat in that one is what, and that is. There's playoff implications on both sides of that. San Francisco, LA. LA is playing for a higher seed. San Francisco is playing to get in. And so they can justify, look, we're going to go ahead and it's not whether Dallas wins or not, the Rams are going to play hard. Okay? They're fighting for a division title with Arizona. Am I correct?
And keeping the 49ers out.
Well, yeah, and the 49ers are going to play hard whether Dallas wins or loses because why? Because they're playing to get in. So that's what I understand the caveat to be there and why they can justify that. Is that accurate? Do you agree with that or disagree?
Yeah, I do. Okay. So why would Dallas play their starters? McCarthy said that he wants to have the starters play
they can
to have consistency.
They can move up.
I think they can get to 2.
Yes.
They can get to 2. But Tampa Bay has to lose, and they're playing the Jets.
Right. There's a lot of ifs. You're right.
But this game, definitely the Rams could. I could see them losing this game. It's 4.5 points.
Well, yeah. Well, they can lose. They listen. They were dominated by San Francisco the first time around this year. I mean, it wasn't even. It was ugly domination.
And it's the same domination the last 3 or 4 times they've played.
Correct.
San Francisco hands off, and LA can't tackle them.
Absolutely correct. And
35
so who-
handoff.
But what Rob brought up, John, was listen. Kansas City is playing for. Those two teams are supposed to be playing at the same time, because the advantage that Tennessee has here.
Well, yeah, that's true.
It's just ridiculous, the advantage.
It's like seeing the flop before the flop happens.
I agree.
Well, and because the number one seed is at stake, and the number one seed comes with an extra week of rest. All these other teams have to play the very next week, but to let Tennessee sit there and watch the whole Kansas City game and decide, okay, we don't have to play anybody now.
Henry,
that's not really fair.
That's right. Henry, listen, I guarantee you, if Kansas City was to lose, Henry's not going to see the field for another 3 weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, who will the Eagles play if the 49ers win?
They're going to play Dallas.
I think Dallas will play Arizona, won't they?
Oh, if the 49ers win, who's out?
New Orleans is out if San
Francisco
wins.
And please, San Francisco win.
Right. We don't need to see Taysom Hill in that
I
game.
really don't want to see a Wildcat with an injured running back.
And San Francisco's the better team anyway.
Yeah, and here's the deal. If San Francisco, if Jimmy G can't go, then I think you just give whoever's going to play either San Francisco or New Orleans, just give them a bye, because I don't want to see that either. I do not want to see the rookie in there.
So what's the answer to the Eagles' opponent? Who could it be?
Well, let me ask you this.
I think it's Dallas.
49ers, right?
If Dallas and the Rams both tie at 12-5, who wins that tiebreaker?
The Rams do.
The Rams do?
It goes with conference record. Whoever has the best
the Rams. I'm pretty sure the Rams do, from what I remember reading.
So Dallas would be 10-2 if they beat the Eagles to get them to 12-5, and the Rams would be 8-4.
Then Dallas
Then Dallas would. I have it backwards.
So that's why Dallas can move all the way up to 2, because their conference record is well. No, if Tampa Bay wins, they'd be 13-4. They go to 2.
Did Dallas beat the Rams?
3.
Well, I don't think they played this year.
I don't know if they did play head-to-head, but I'm just kind of throwing it out there.
Maybe they did play this year. They played last year. It was a big game last year. But let me look it up for you. So we're supposed to know these things, you know?
Yeah, the Cowboys can still land in the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th seed depending on this weekend's results.
Correct.
So they can't finish any worse than 4 if they lose. If they win and Tampa Bay wins, they'll be 3. If they win and Tampa Bay loses, they'll be 2. So Dallas has an opportunity to move up.
Dallas and the Rams did not square off.
Isn't it Green Bay, the Rams, Tampa Bay, Dallas right now?
Well, Rams and Tampa Bay are tied, 12-4.
Right.
We're assuming the Rams. If the Rams lose, Dallas moves
right. Well, that's okay. Yep.
And San Francisco needs that game because that's a win and get in situation for them.
Right. And what we have is we have.
So then, who are the wild cards then? The Rams, 49ers.
No, the wild cards would be the
Eagles.
49ers and Eagles, right?
And the Rams.
I'm wrong.
Because the Rams win, it'd be Arizona, would be the division champ.
Yeah.
Rams, 49ers, Eagles.
Yeah.
And then Dallas would play the worst of the 2 seeds. So I guess they could play the Eagles.
Rams and Eagles. Rams and Eagles. Would it not be the Rams and Eagles? Well, the Eagles will be the 7th seed, which is the last seed, and the Rams would have to play the 2.
But you got to remember the first team gets the bye.
Well, no, Green Bay is that team. The Rams would be the number 2 seed. They would play the number 7, which would be the Eagles, right?
The most likely scenario is that Tampa Bay, who they got this week?
The Jets.
They just played
the highest scoring team in the NFL.
Yeah, it's true.
They just played the Jets. They played Carolina.
It's weak.
If they beat Carolina, they'll be 2. If the Eagles lose to Dallas, they'll be 7. The most likely scenario is Eagles-Tampa, first round.
Okay, well, what if the Rams win?
If the Rams win and Tampa wins, then
the Rams have the edge.
Rams are 2. The Rams are 2, and the Eagles.
So it'll be Rams and Eagles.
The Eagles could play any one of those three teams.
That's
they could
correct.
play Dallas. They could play Tampa. They could play the Rams.
That's correct. I agree.
What about the 49ers? The 49ers win, they're in, right?
Well, yeah. Well, but they will play the 3 seed.
Right. They'll finish 6th.
They would be ahead of Philadelphia.
Philadelphia, right? Because if they win, they're 10-7, and if Philly loses, they're 9-8.
So Philly would be the last team in, and would have to play the 2 seed.
Correct.
Right.
Tom Brady.
They lose,
good luck with that.
San Francisco beat the Eagles this year, if you remember, in week 2. Last second, that 17-11 game. You remember that? So they would have
right. Yep.
They have the head up. Yeah.
Yep. Thanks for explaining that to me. See, I learn something every day from you guys.
Well, now we're going to teach you about kicking the boys around and dull knives, but don't do it.
Oof.
Yeah, well, I'm going to look up that. What was that woman's name? I've never heard of her before. Lorena
Bobbitt?
Yeah.
That was a little different. That was super glue.
She sounds like a real prize to me.
Yes.
Like
she's a catch. She's a catch.
The Tanya Harding situation, I think, is similar.
Yeah, Carrie. Yeah.
Yeah. And the Winter Olympics are right around the corner.
Have you seen Tanya? She's a catch.
No.
She's a catch.
No.
She's a catch.
I don't watch that kind of television, Tony. The worst television I watch is The Bachelor.
You don't pay. My wife watches the worst TV on earth, so I tell her. I mean, really, you got to get a life. You got something. Get a hobby, because you can't watch the 2,000-pound sisters going to their reunion.
I can't watch that show.
Well, no, I can't either.
I can't watch that show. I literally almost get sick.
I watched 15 minutes of it, and it enlightened me to, and I'm sure we're going to get drive-bys on this. It enlightened me to the savvy, to the IQ of the American population.
Well, look at The Bachelor.
What is that shit?
The Bachelor's just as bad, because I hope to God.
How many people are saying that about us? Who watches football? Who watches grown men putting a helmet and pads on and grabbing each other's nuts? I mean, I'm sure that there are people who say that about us. We watch it. So
it kind of sounds like The Bachelor that you just described there. I mean, they're all catty, they're all petty, and they're all obviously grabbing the nuts.
Yeah.
They're always drinking.
And if it was my day and age, Rob's day, our day and age, you guys, listen. I'm sitting next to Hollywood Henderson asking to borrow his nose spray.
What drives me nuts on that show, and then we'll do our final round of best bets. What drives me nuts on that show is when they're sitting so close to each other, and the guy's usually the one that says it. That it's just amazing how in touch you are with your feelings after everything you've been through. I throw up, and I rinse and repeat.
Yeah, well, you're in a group. You're a big group of the homophobics. There are a lot of homophobics. I didn't know you were a Republican. So
Well, I mean, Finn, when I come out to Vegas to visit with you the next time, I hope to God you don't look at me at the bar and say, John, you really are an amazing person.
John,
you're so in touch with your emotions.
For your age, your genes. You got some tight buttocks, John.
Oh, no.
Looking good, Johnny.
I've learned from you everything in moderation, excessively. So
that's right.
I guess I have more to learn.
I'm the guy who would the girls would come to me and say, "Listen, we're going to go to the drag show tonight. You got to go, John. You're going to love this shit." I did like I blew my nose on the sidewalk or something. Said, "Yeah, let's go," and they said, "We're not taking you now."
Well, I can speak for Rob Veno. I don't know about Jesse, but back in our day, if somebody said we're going to the drag show, it was over at the Atco Drag Racing Speedway.
No. Well, I grew up
in New Jersey,
outside the Ozarks, not inside the Ozarks. So no, it's not the drag show. Is the drag show, and Sinatra singers. I mean, Streisand singers. Some talented young men, very talented young men.
All right. Well, my talent.
Can we please? Can we please? I'm going to ask again.
That's a good outtake. That's a good outtake. Well, my best bet.
I'm quite certain that there are some people watching this show right now that would, if anyone's watching the show right now, we're going to take auditions and we're going to let you sing on the show. If you can sing, I don't know, what's something, Born Again, whatever the hell that movie was.
Climb any mountain from The Sound of Music.
Okay.
How's that?
Does Barbara sing that song?
Not a Streisand song.
No, that's right. That's an Andrew song.
I think that's a Dick Van
Evergreen.
Okay, Evergreen.
Evergreen.
Yeah. Okay. And there you go.
I mean, that's a real tear song, Millie. That's a.
If you can listen, if a guy can sing that, sing it like Streisand, and make me cry, I'll buy his album.
Well, it sounds like you're talking about Barry Manilow.
No, I'm talking about
or the Bee Gees.
Bee Gees is my wife's favorite group,
Yeah.
the Bee Gees. So I've heard a lot of it.
Hey, guess what, Finn? Guess what?
What? Time to go? I got
my best bet is on Ohio State. The analysis was done an hour and 20 minutes ago. And
well, see, this is why I don't come to the show.
That is what I'm going with.
You guys keep me too effing long. I got shit. I got SS and S and go somewhere. And go ahead, Rob. Your best bet.
I want to know, how is it that we keep you too long, Tony? That's what I want to know.
I know. How does it happen?
Oh my goodness gracious. Hey, listen, I'll stick by what we said before. Golden State, New Orleans Pelicans over the number here. I think it was just a huge overreaction. Looking at in fact, I look now, guys. When we started this show, we could have got 210.5. We're not getting it anymore. It's up to 211.5.
Well, you better believe there's buyback. You knew there was going to be buyback on that.
Yeah, you need 106 aside.
Yeah,
I don't think it's that difficult in this style of game. So give me Golden State, New Orleans over 211.
Unless Golden State shoots like they did last night, then it's possible, I guess, but because they were pretty miserable.
What I need is for all your player props to win. If Ingram does
without
what
question.
you need him to do, if Devontae Graham does what you need him to do, then we'll be fine.
Yeah. Oh, I think so. I mean,
Jesse Scholl.
Yeah, Jesse.
I'm going to go with the Wisconsin Badgers at home playing Iowa.
I like it.
I like it. Wisconsin plays strong defense at home. Iowa, not the greatest on the road. They're coming off of a 73-53 loss at Iowa State, their last road game. I think Wisconsin can keep them from scoring. And, of course, Wisconsin's hot right now, coming off that big win over Purdue. Davis scored 37 points in that game. So I'm going to ride the hot team at home at a reasonable price, in my opinion.
What is a reasonable price?
-3.
-3.
All right. Okie dokie, Smokey. Now what?
Tony Finn, it's your turn.
Okay, I'm gonna.
Do I need a timer?
No, you don't. What you need is you need to let me pull this up. I want to make sure I can get the right number. So I'm pulling it up now, and here we go. Oh my goodness gracious! Hold on, I'll refresh. Would you like to hear a joke while I'm refreshing? No, here we go. No. Shit. All right, here we go. Live odds. I'm bringing up a whole new page. Indiana's up 1-0, by the way.
What was it, a home run?
No,
plus 3.5. You cash now, John. Plus 3.5.
NBA Texans.
Yeah, there you go.
No, my best bet. I'm going to give out. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to college, but I'm going to go to the extra board, which rarely do we do, right? We just don't do that very often.
We love it.
You know what? I got two places. I'm going to stay away. I like US San Diego. UC San Diego, not US San Diego. That would be off the.
That's a battleship.
UC San Diego +6. And if you don't get this, I tell you, if you don't get this before 10 Eastern or 9 Eastern, you're probably not going to get the 6. I think you're going to get 5.5, 5 or 5.5. That's my opinion.
Nice.
Yeah.
So we're
Cal Riverside.
What's that?
We're fading Cal Riverside tonight.
That is what we're doing. We're fading Cal Riverside, and not that Cal Riverside's chopped liver. They did beat a highly ranked Arizona. Was that Arizona State? On that weird shot. Was that Cal Riverside?
Bobby Hurley.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wasn't it like week one or first weekend of college this year when the kid hit the half court shot against Hurley?
Yeah, I feel like that was back in November. Yeah.
Yeah. That was way back in COVID days, right?
Well, gentlemen, we've come to the sad realization that the show must end.
Yeah, and I'm so sorry to have kept you guys so long.
And it's always great. My bad. Best 90 minutes of the day by far. And I'm not saying that sarcastically. I do mean that. With tears in my eyes, Tony Finn.
Thank you.
But thanks for all your time, Jesse, Rob, Mr. Finn. I want everybody to have a great Thursday night in the sports betting markets. Bet with your head and not over it. And may all the wins continue to be yours.
And damn it, Phoenix minus the points.